Hello. On this edition of Commuter Connections, we'll be joined by MDOT MTA Administrator Kevin Quinn for an exciting look at Baltimore Link on its first anniversary. MDOT MTA is adding new buses to its fleet. We'll introduce you to them. We've got your best ride to the July 4th celebration and Artscape, and a visit to the Hubert V. Simmons Museum of Negro League Baseball in Owings Mills, all on this edition of Commuter Connections. One year ago, Governor Larry Hogan transformed transit in our region with a much-needed overhaul and rebranding of the area's bus system. Changes that have made bus service more efficient and reliable for transit patrons. MDOT MTA Administrator Kevin Quinn joined us on Federal Hill in downtown Baltimore for an important look at Baltimore Link on its first anniversary. So it's hard to believe it's already been a year since the launch of Baltimore Link. So how have things been with the new service?
Things have been good. We've seen some great improvements. We've seen improvements in on-time performance. We've seen improvements in safety. And we've seen some great new infrastructure investments in the downtown right behind us here, and things like dedicated bus lanes and transit signal priority. It's been a real game changer for Baltimore. A lot of these big transit investments that we've made as part of the Baltimore Link project.
And what's been some of the feedback from your riders?
Feedback's been generally positive. We made some initial changes right away to really respond to rider feedback, and we're continuing to make these changes. So, since we launched Baltimore Link, we've had around 150 community meetings, and a lot of folks, saw the big push in public outreach that we were doing throughout the Baltimore Link project, but we didn't want it to stop there. And so we've continued to do a lot of public outreach meetings and get a lot of feedback, and whether that's about routes and route timing, some bus stop locations. We put in some great locations for some senior housing, and so it's been really great. I'd like to think that Baltimore Link was a real turning point for us in becoming a more responsive, really more nimble agency.
So tell us, why was Baltimore Link necessary?
Yeah, it was really needed for the region, and advocates have been asking for a bus redesign for quite some time. We had a network that had not been redesigned in 50, 60 years. We had a bus network that was never really redesigned to reflect our light rail system, our metro system that had been built since then, and jobs around the region have changed. This idea that not all jobs are downtown anymore. And so to reflect that, we put in some great new high-frequency service going cross-town and even out into some of the more suburban areas. And so I think those have been some great improvements that our riders have really benefited from.
And I know Baltimore Link was a major undertaking. So when you talk about a redesign, what did it actually take to redesign a transit system like the one we have here in Baltimore? Yeah,
our whole agency really had to come together around that. And whether it was around some of the communications and marketing that we did, we redid all the maps and all the brochures. Whether it was engineering and planning of routes or our dedicated lanes. It might have been all the new signage. Putting up 4,200 bus stop signs overnight doesn't happen without a lot of coordination and really a core team coming together.
And I know sometimes with a project like that, you have adjustments that need to take place along the way. Tell us some of the changes that have taken place since the launch of Baltimore Link last year.
Certainly bus stop changes, making some adjustments to bus stops. We've moved some bus stops from near side to far side. Some of the route changes we've made, we heard some of our riders say, hey, I need a ride that comes about 30 minutes earlier. And so we've made those adjustments. We've made adjustments to places like Sparrows Point, where we introduced a brand new route going to Trade Point Atlantic. And again, I think that's part of our agency's ability now to be more responsive.
So now with all the changes, some of the things that you mentioned here, tell us, how has that investment really kind of played into the mission of Baltimore Link? I know you mentioned about getting people to jobs.
Yeah, I think getting people to jobs is certainly a big one, but it's also getting people there faster. And things like dedicated bus lanes and transit signal priority is some fantastic technology that's been used elsewhere around the world. And I think those are investments that were much needed and that we're going to continue to look for opportunities to implement.
Do you see Baltimore Link as something that will continue to evolve as the landscape changes?
Yeah, certainly. You know, we do changes 3 times a year, service changes. And so those are opportunities for us and for all of our operators to make those changes, to get retrained on routes, to become a safer, a more reliable system. And that's when we implement things like new run times, when we see that buses, aren't adhering to the schedule. We can adjust those run times. We can adjust those schedules so that riders know exactly when their ride is going to be there. So those 3 times a year, we're going to continue that, and that's a commitment that we've made to our riders.
And speaking of changes, if we did a side-by-side comparison of Baltimore Link now to the transit system that it replaced, what would we see?
So the big one that I think you'd see is reliability. I think you'd see a system before that had on-time performance reliability around 50-55%. And so we've got that now on a daily basis at 69-70%. And so seeing a 15 to 20% increase over a 12-month period is something that this agency and really the whole city should really be very proud of. I think any agency nationwide would kill for that kind of improvement.
So what's next? What's next for Baltimore Link?
We've got some great things coming up. So later this summer, we will be announcing real time on all of our buses. We've been installing GPS units on our buses and doing all kinds of quality control checking to be sure that it's operating as it should.
It sounds exciting. It sounds like an exciting time at MDOT MTA. And you're doing a lot of things that really are going to benefit transit riders now and in the long term. And where can our viewers go for more information on Baltimore Link and other MDOT MTA services?
So best place to go is mta.maryland.gov. Folks can get routes and schedules and information there. And soon they'll be able to look up real time on that website as well.
Well, Kevin, thanks so much for joining us. We'll be keeping our eye on Baltimore Link, and congratulations again on your 1-year anniversary.
Thank you, Sandy.
Thank you. Coming up next, MDOT MTA is adding a number of new buses to its fleet. We'll show you. Stay with us.
The average text takes your eyes off the road for nearly 5 seconds. Stop the texts. Stop the wrecks. Visit us at stoptextsstopwrecks.org.
Within its promise to provide safe, efficient, and reliable transit with world-class customer service, MDOT MTA is adding a number of exciting new buses to its fleet. MDOT MTA Director of Bus Maintenance, Dave Varner, joins us with a look at these new buses. Welcome to the show, Dave.
Thank you.
So why are the new buses needed for MDOT MTA's fleet?
Well, like most transit agencies out there, the Maryland Department of Transportation, MTA, has a fleet management plan, and we aim to replace our buses every year. Right now, our fleet plan calls for 70 buses per year for replacement. So as we get the new buses, we replace the older 70 of the oldest buses in the fleet.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they start costing us, just like an old car, they start costing us a lot of money. They break down a lot and they're less reliable. Mm-hmm. The maintenance on it too. Yes.
So what model are you rolling out for the new fleet?
Well, all the models right now we have are what they call low floor buses, and these right now are made by a company called New Flyer. They're based out of Minnesota. So the low floor is a ADA requirement. Mm-hmm. It's this one, there's no steps in the front of the buses. They kneel. We have ramps now rather than lifts. So there's a lot of regulations that these bus manufacturers have to meet in order to sell these buses to us. Safety-wise, emissions, all these different kind of features that go along with it.
I was actually going to ask you, what made you decide on those particular buses, on that particular bus model?
Every bus is pretty much custom made. So a bus that looks like a bus in DC or Philadelphia, looks like the same model as ours, they're all custom made to that agency's requirements. What kind of drivetrain they want, different seats, their radio system, their camera system, etc. Mm-hmm. So they're all custom built to each agency's needs.
And you named a number of features on the bus model that you're going to be rolling out. Are any safety features included in that?
A lot of safety features. Every year we try to make improvements on it. So we take feedback from both the public, our citizens advisory group, our drivers, our mechanics, and we try to add as many features as we can to the already many features we have now. Some of the added features we've done on this model as it comes in, we have a system that's called a safe turn alert, or as some folks call it, the talking buses. So the buses talk or announce that they're turning. That's a safety feature for pedestrians. This new model has a LED light that actually flashes. This is for, the folks that have the earphones in their ears, or those that have a disability with hearing now. This LED light flashes to also catch their attention as the bus is going to turn. So not only does it announce it, it flashes. Another safety feature we added a seat alarm, because we've had some issues where some of the operators forget to set the parking brake. This is a common thing across the country. So kind of similar to what's on forklifts and things like this, a large alarm will go off now if they turn the bus off without setting the parking brake. So that's another feature.
Okay, and you said that you get 70 new buses a year. So what's the cost of the new buses that you're rolling out this year?
These buses right now average around $560,000 per bus. We went to clean diesel. We did a real in-depth study, and the technology has improved so much. The hybrid buses were actually an added $200,000 per bus to come along with some other maintenance things that go with it too. So it allows us to buy enough buses to retire the oldest buses on the back end. One good thing we do with our buses is easy to identify. The first number on our buses is the year we bought the bus, and the second part of the number is what series that bus comes in.
And with the new buses that you're ordering, will they help with, maybe the cost or the maintenance? I know you mentioned a little bit about that as far as the service and the maintenance for MDOT MTA.
Always. They're new. They come with a warranty. So for like the first year, we don't have to worry about a lot of things except for the normal preventive maintenance. Just like you kind of compare it to when you buy a new car, and once that car gets to a certain age, it starts nickel and diming you. The buses are no different, Plus you get the advantage of all the extra safety features and added features that go along with it too.
So tell us, how do the buses arrive? Are they driven into Baltimore? Do they come in on a
actually
flatbed or something?
driven in. We have inspectors on both ends that work for us. So we have an inspector at the plant that goes through every phase of the bus as it goes through, from the frame welding all the way down to the end of it. And they inspect every station. And once they sign off on it up there, we pay about 75% of the bus's invoice. Then the bus is driven from Minnesota, where their plant is right now, all the way to Baltimore. It's a good test. So when they get here, then we do another thorough inspection, and then also add features that they couldn't test out there, like our radio system, because it has to be here. Our camera downloads and other systems that go along with it. And once it passes inspection here, then it's in service, and then we pay the last of the bill.
Okay. And I guess, do they come prepped, like, with the MDOT MTA logo on it, or does it have to be prepped and all that's taken care of once it arrives in Baltimore?
No, it comes ready. We give them the design and the drawings on whatever we want on our buses, the stickers, all the Department of Transportation stickers that has to be put on there, and safety stickers. So it all comes pretty much ready to go. One of the big things we do here is we put a coating on the inside of the bus to help kill germs. It's something we do on our buses every year, and other than that, that's pretty much all we do down here on this side of it.
Oh, okay. So a lot of the work is done on that end.
It's easier and saves time to just have them do it and have the bus come here ready pretty much to go.
Are any of the new buses on the streets now?
No, we have 2 of them on site. We always do what's called a pilot bus. They build one bus about a month in advance. And then that bus is checked and is shipped down here for my team and me to go over the bus. If there's things that we want to tweak or issues that we see, we can address it before they build the rest of the buses. So after that month, right now, it's been here for about a month, so the second bus has arrived. And so we have 2 buses on site right now, 18001 and 18002.
Well, Dave, I wish you all the best with the rollout of the new buses. Thanks again for joining us on Commuter Connections, and good luck with everything.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure as always.
Thank you. Just ahead, MDOT MTA has your best ride to the big July 4th celebration in downtown Baltimore. That's next.
There's a shelter pet who wants to meet you. Meet one today. Visit theshelterpetproject.org. Adopt.
One of our region's largest July 4th celebrations takes place at the Inner Harbor in Baltimore. Thousands will converge on downtown Baltimore for the annual fireworks display and celebration. How do you plan on getting there? Joe Davis, director of the MDOT MTA Operations Control Center, joins us with valuable information on travel to the big Inner Harbor event. Welcome to Commuter Connections, Joe.
Thank you.
So tell us, how many people does MDOT MTA actually expect to transport to Baltimore's Inner Harbor on July 4th?
The actual numbers fluctuate year to year depending on weather and crowds and other events in the Baltimore metro area, but we expect a very good turnout this year.
So to avoid the issues with parking, what are some of the various transit options for getting to all the action downtown?
So the MDOT MTA has bus service, the Local Link, Express Link, and Metro Link that will bring them downtown to the Inner Harbor. We also have subway metro service and light rail service. And then folks coming from outside the Baltimore region, we have MARC train service to bring them in.
And I'm sure that some people will probably want to drive to either, just say, the Metro Subway Link station or to light rail link stations, you know, park there and then take the train downtown. Tell us a little bit about the larger parking options that are available at both of those stations, Metro Subway Link and Light Rail Link.
So for Metro Link, some of our bigger stations like Owings Mills and Rogers Avenue station will allow folks to park in larger, if they come with multiple cars, they can park in those locations and ride the trains in. For light rail from the north, they can park in Timonium, they can park in Hunt Valley. A lot of those lots are pretty large and can handle good capacity. And then from the south, we have the Cromwell Station yard and some of the other yards that have very large parking facilities.
What's the cost to take the services?
For bus service, it's $1.80 per trip. It's $4.20 for an all-day pass. And then for subway and light rail, it's $1.80 per trip. Then get a round trip for $3.60 or an all-day pass for $4.20.
Good deal. So will MDOT MTA modify any of its transit services for the July 4th holiday?
So some of the stuff that we do downtown, we'll be staging 16 extra coaches to insert into bus service as the crowds come in and out of the Inner Harbor area. And then Metro service, subway service runs its regular schedule until midnight, but light rail we extend 1 hour past the event. So the fireworks are scheduled for about 9:30, and then we extend light rail to about 10:30 to accommodate everybody's move out of the area.
And how far in advance do you all actually start planning for an event like this?
So we start planning about a month in advance. We reach out to our leadership, to all the modes in rail, both in bus, and also the city offices, everybody involved in pulling off the production so we can accommodate the crowd.
So Joe, I know you touched on it a little bit earlier about MARC train being an option for people to get downtown. So for those who are living a little farther away from downtown Baltimore, explain to us how they might be able to use MARC to get to the action.
So for MARC riders, if they're coming from DC, they can ride into Penn. It's $8 one way. And then they can take the Penn shuttle for light rail. They'll bring them right downtown to Camden Yards, and it's a short walk over to the harbor.
So that's convenient. That's very convenient. So now if people want more information on MDOT MTA's transit services, where's the best place for them to go?
So they can look it up at mta.maryland.gov, and they can also call us at 410-539-5000.
Joe, thanks again for joining us on the show. Hopefully we'll see you down at the Inner Harbor for the July 4th fireworks.
I appreciate it. I'll be there.
Okay. Maryland is rich in history and culture. There's so much to see and do here. One cultural jewel is the Hubert V. Simmons Museum of Negro League Baseball in Owings Mills, which was founded by a former MDOT MTA employee, Ray Banks. Commuter Connections recently stopped in with Ray for a look at this very special place.
Retirement for most people means taking life a little easier after a lifetime of hard work. That is, unless you're Ray Banks.
Well, actually, they say I'm doing more now than I did when I was working, but to me, it's a passion.
Ray's passion is raising awareness about the history and contributions of the Negro Leagues to baseball.
They call me the Negro League Goodwill Ambassador.
With the help of late Baltimore County Executive Kevin Kamenetz, Ray established the Hubert V. Simmons Museum of Negro Leagues Baseball at the Owings Mills branch of Baltimore County Public Library.
We opened up in 2014, and when I go there now, it's a joy on the first, second, and third level, artifacts to the right. It's education, it teaches the children, and I want the youth to go there especially, to keep this legacy alive.
Visitors to the library are greeted on the first floor by banners welcoming them to the museum.
For the second floor, it's a dedication to 3 African-American females who played in the Negro League. People are unaware of the fact that there were 3 African-American women that played in the Negro League. Mamie Peanut Johnson, Connie Morgan, and Tony Stone.
Featured on the 3rd floor is Baltimore great Leon Day.
I had to do something very special for Miss Geraldine Day. And they said when the museum opened up, when the doors of the elevator opened, and she saw her husband in a giant size, she almost had a heart attack.
Ray credits his time at MDOT MTA with his success after retirement.
And I always say that MTA prepared me for what I'm doing today. By me talking to people about bus service schedules. Now I'm talking to people about the Negro League.
Ray's been talking to some pretty impressive people lately and made some new friends.
The tour was absolutely fantastic. We're so supportive of him and of the museum. It's really cool. If people haven't gone, you've got to go check it out. It's right off of our Owings Mills Metro station, and people can access it there and really go see a great part of history.
Ray's journey at MDOT MTA began in August of 1971.
And I was very successful in getting a job at the Information Service Department. And I stayed in that same department for 35 years. It's my family. I spent more time at the MTA than I did at home. I'm so gratified that I spent my time of 35 years at Maryland Transit Administration.
Ray shows no signs of slowing down as he continues his mission to garner recognition for some of history's greatest baseball players.
Coming up next, we've got information on how to get to another very popular event in the region, Artscape. Stay with us.
People think I'm trash, but they're wrong. Today I'm just an aluminum can, but one day I could be a stadium.
Since its launch, Artscape has become the largest free arts festival in America. Each and every year, thousands of people attend the festival for all the fun and excitement it brings. And MDOT MTA will take you right to the center of it all. Megan Bossy of the Baltimore Office of Promotion and the Arts joins us for a look at what's on tap for this year's event. Welcome to Commuter Connections, Megan.
Thank you.
So tell us, for our viewers who may not have experienced it, what is Artscape?
So Artscape, as you mentioned, is America's largest free arts festival, and it's right here in Baltimore, Maryland. So for 3 days in July, we take over Mount Royal Avenue and Charles Street in the Station North neighborhood. And we have visual arts and performing arts, both indoors and outdoors. And we have 3 nights of concerts on 3 stages throughout the weekend, and of course, food and beverages, and so much for the whole family to experience.
Wonderful. And you mentioned 3 days in July. What are the dates we're looking at this year?
It's July 20th through the 22nd this year, and we're open from 11 a.m. until 9 p.m. on Friday and Saturday, and then until 7 p.m. on Sunday.
Wonderful. Now, what is the cost to attend?
It's completely free, so that's the great thing about this festival is all of the performances that you'll see, all of the concerts that you'll see, the visual art exhibitions, they're all completely free to attend.
So you don't have to pay for anything, so that's wonderful.
The only thing you do have to pay for is if you decide to purchase art from any of the vendors in the artist market, which there's over 100 vendors selling their original artwork, so it's hard not to buy something at Artscape, but you can go completely for free if you would like.
So tell us how Artscape got started and how long it's existed.
This is our 37th year, so it's been in the city for a while, but it recently started becoming a staple and something that people look forward to every year. So this year we're kind of going back to the basics with art as our theme, because we usually try to do a different theme every year. Like last year we did camp, and the year before that we did space, but this year we really just want people to celebrate Artscape for what it is, and that's just a festival celebrating the arts in Baltimore.
And roughly how many people are you expecting this year?
We usually expect around 350,000 people throughout the weekend. So yeah, we always get a lot of crowds for Artscape.
So I know you touched on a few things, but in general, what would you say really makes Artscape so special?
I think just a mix of everything, all of the different types of art that people can experience. I know people look forward to the artist market every year to browse through the artwork from local artists, and all of the large-scale art installations that we have throughout the festival. They change every year, and that really makes Artscape unique. And of course, the entertainment that we have on our main stage. I know people always look forward to that every year.
I was about to ask, that was going to be my next question. I know that you're known for the entertainment, so what is slated this year?
So this year, Friday night, we'll have TLC, which we're really excited about, at 7:30 on the main stage. And then Saturday night, we're having a reggae group called Toots and the Maytals, also at 7:30. And then Sunday night, we'll have ZZ Ward, and she's a blues rock singer. And she'll perform at 5:30 Sunday night.
So I have to make sure I'm there. It sounds wonderful. Now, is there any other event in the country like Artscape?
No, not that I know of. We are, I think, the only arts festival that incorporates everything from music to performance and visual art and the artist market, and makes it all available and open to the public for free.
Now, is there anything that people who plan on attending, is there anything else that they need to know about Artscape? Is there anything special happening or anything that they should prepare for?
It does get really hot. It's usually on the hottest, we always joke and say it's on the hottest weekend of the year. But so it's good to know that we do have a lot of indoor venues where people can go and experience all of the programming. So we have theater, jazz, and opera inside some of the buildings at MICA. And then we also have dance inside the Lyric. And we also have activities happening inside the BSO all weekend. So there are a ton of things to do inside if you don't want to be out in the heat. So we just encourage everyone to look on our website and make sure they see all of the great things that we have going on.
This is a huge event. So how many people does it normally take to organize something like this?
It really takes everyone in our office. It's a huge collaborative effort. So we have a festivals department who obviously plan the programming for the festival, but they work with everyone else we have a cultural affairs department that work very closely with the artists and making sure they're involved in the arts community. And then we also work very closely with the city, with transportation and the fire department and police departments, just to make sure everything goes seamlessly and off without a hitch.
And tell me some of the best ways to get to Artscape, because I know, with all the people, I'm sure you don't want to drive, you don't want to worry about the parking and all that.
Yes.
So what are some options that people have for getting to the event?
We definitely encourage people to take public transportation. So the MTA light rail link drops you off right at Mount Royal. So the Mount Royal MICA stop would be the closest one for that. And also the Metro will take you there as well.
Oh, okay. Well, Megan, it sounds like Artscape is going to be another great event this year. Thank you so much for coming on and telling us all about it.
Yeah, thank you for having me. See you at Artscape.
Okay. That brings us to the end of another edition of Commuter Connections. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time.